Episode number 795. Who's in Your Room? Second edition.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and chief visionary officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
Hey, I am doing great. I'm home in Austin, Texas this week. This is International Networking Week, and so I'm doing lots and lots of Zoom presentations all over the world.
Wow, it happened again just a year later.
Yes, indeed.
So what do you have to share with us in this podcast?
Well, just a couple of weeks ago, the second edition of one of my favorite books came out. It's Who's in Your Room? We have a different subtitle. The subtitle for Who's in Your Room second edition is The Question That Will Change Your Life. And I think that's really true. I think the idea of who's in your room and understanding the concept of who's in your room will change people's lives, and it has changed many people's lives. So the second edition, we'll have a link for it here on the podcast, but you can find it in bookstores. You can find it on Amazon. This edition is the blue cover. The blue cover is the second edition, and again, the link will be here in this podcast. And we have gone, Priscilla, from 15,000 words to 45,000 words on the second edition. Yeah, so it is 3 times as much content as we had in the first edition. So even if you have the first edition, you're going to love this one because there's 2 things that we've added in addition to a lot of other ideas, some of which I'll talk about here. But in addition to other ideas, we have a lot of stories in this edition, and we have exercises in this edition, things to complete. And we're even considering putting together a coaching program for coaches that are out there who want to be certified on, an exceptional room, creating an exceptional room. So we're thinking about doing that. So if you're a coach and this sounds like something that you'd like to get certified in, drop me a note here on the podcast, and we'll make sure you get information as we develop the program. It's, I think, excellent for anyone who does coaching, particularly life coaching, but even business coaching. So do you want to hear some of the new content that we've added?
I do. Please.
So one of the things that was added, and we have a new co-author, Doug Hardy. Doug really came up with a couple of fantastic ideas for this second edition, one of which is the concierge. Now, if you remember, Priscilla, we had the idea of the doorkeeper or doorman. We've switched it to be a little more politically correct to doorkeeper in this version. And the doorkeeper is the person that lets people into your room. And of course, at some point in our life, we didn't have a doorkeeper, and people just kind of came as they did, and we had no control. But the idea of the doorkeeper is your conscious and subconscious mind screening people before they come into your room or into your life. And maybe I should start with, for those of you who aren't familiar with the book, I'm assuming that people are familiar with it and they may not be. So let me give you a minute or two on the concept of the book. Imagine you live your life in one room, and that one room has only one door, and that one door is an enter-only door, so that when people come into your room or into your life, they're there forever. You can't get them out. Now, it sounds like a metaphor, but we argue that it's more than a metaphor, because when people come into your life, their fingerprints are all over your brain. Dr. Daniel Amen, who we interviewed for the first edition, and he's also in the second edition, said that when you have a relationship with someone, personally or professionally, their fingerprints are all over your brain, and they're in your room for the rest of your life. And your room begins on, take your index finger and put it on your right temple, and your left hand, put your index finger on your left temple. Your room is everything in between. It's your mind, it's your history, it's your experiences. And so The doorkeeper is your conscious and subconscious mind, keeping people out of your head, out of your room, who shouldn't be there. And that we talk about in the first edition, but what we didn't talk about in the first edition was this concept of the concierge. And the concierge is your conscious and subconscious mind figuring out where people belong that have gotten into your room. You've either let them in or they're family and you had no choice, or you let them in before you understood the concept of who's in your room. And, there's basically already a crowd of people in there, your significant other, family members, friends, work associates, people that you've let into the room in the past. And whether you've intentionally let them in or you've accidentally allowed them in, um, they're in. And so some of them have to be kind of put off to the distance, and some of them are brought up close. The concierge works on your behalf, bringing people closer or walking them farther away. It's a conscious decision. We talk about the concept of the concierge in this book, which is a great concept, and it's much more complex than we have time to talk about. But it's a great concept that Doug brought up. Another thing that we talk about in the book is a story from uh, Janine Janine Roth, who
Oh, yeah.
wrote a number of books, including the New York Times bestsellers "Food Is Love." But one of the things that she talked about in one of her books is experiencing the breaths that you have left, enjoying the breaths that you have left.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
I think as we all get older, that becomes really important. Living our best lives and enjoying the breaths that we have left in life are really important. And I'd urge people to take a good look at Janine's story, which is in the book, and very, very powerful. We also have exercises in this version of the book about, I mean, there's several. I'm going to share a couple of them with you on this podcast. One is who's close and who's far away. We have many people in our room. Our room is huge. It's all the people that have come into our life. And you want to think about what people are close to you. And so we have you draw concentric circles with yourself at the center and decide how close or far away people are today and where they should be. Maybe there are people who are in concentric circles far away that you want to bring back in closer. And maybe there are people that are pretty close that you want to put out further in your room. And so we have you do a little exercise with that. And there are a number of questions with this exercise that I'll share with you now. One of the things that you should think about when you are thinking of the concentric circles is who comes up in your memory often? Is there some moment that seems to come up a lot? And is it good or bad? And should the people involved in that be close to you in your room or far away? Who do you pay instant attention to when they call or email you?
Mhm.
And why? Why do you pay instant attention to them? Where should they be in those concentric circles? Who do you resist? Who do you put off answering on those phone calls or emails? Is there someone that you've resented for years or resent right now? And are they close or are they far away? Do you have someone that you truly dislike with enough energy that just thinking about them can change your mood or have you obsess over your history with them? These are questions that we have people ask themselves in this second edition that weren't, none of this was in the first edition. And so there's really a lot of additional material that we've added into the book. Another concept that we brought into this, we talked about deal breakers. What are the things that when you think of, boom, you don't want this person in your room. But what are the deal makers? That's a new concept. What are the deal makers? What are behaviors that you say, wow, this is the kind of person that I want in my life? And so some of the kinds of questions that you should ask in terms of deal makers are who brings in things that align with your values? Are you meeting somebody who brings in things that align with your values? Do they bring you joy? Do they offer you support? Are they happy for you when something good happens? Do they accept you as you are? Who brings out the best in you? We talk about in the first edition and this edition anchors and engines. Engines driving you forward, anchors bringing you down, and that too is in this second edition. And then we have some great stories, news stories that weren't in the first book. I'll give you one story, and then we got to wrap up on this podcast. One of the things that we talk about in this book is that, somebody may be in your room, but their baggage has to stay out. And there was a fantastic story that was given to me after I did the first edition of the book. And it was a woman who said that she had a family member who would always come to family events. And she would, during the family event, throw in this verbal grenade that would explode. And everybody would just get furious with whatever it was that she said. And she would just rile people up at almost every family event. And they were almost thinking about stopping family events because of her. But she read the first edition of Who's in Your Room, and the family got together without this person, and they all decided that the next time this woman came to a family event and threw in a verbal grenade, they would all look at her and say, "Oh, okay," and then turn back and get right back to their original conversation. So basically ignore the comment. It worked amazingly well. The next time she came to this event and she threw in a verbal hand grenade, people looked at her and went, "Oh, okay," and then turned back and continued their conversation. And it was amazing, Priscilla.
Yeah.
She stopped throwing in the hand grenades because she didn't get a response.
Right.
And so this is the beauty of this book, Who's in Your Room, is that it gives you the tools to learn not only who to allow into your life, but also the tools to learn how to deal with the people in your life. So I urge you, if you're listening to this podcast, go take a look at the book, and please do me a favor. Put up a review. Put up a review if you like the book. If you don't, forget about this comment. You don't have to put up a review. But no, I would love your reviews up on Amazon, especially because reviews really make a difference. That's my material for today.
Oh, that's great, Ivan. Janine Roth, I went to a workshop that she gave like years ago.
Really?
Yeah, and it was so powerful. It was all about like compulsive eating, and she would have everybody take a little tiny piece of chocolate and eat it for as long as you could keep it alive in your mouth and enjoy every little tiny taste of it. And, just she did all these incredible exercises. And I found one of her really old books in my library, and I wanted to give it to somebody who needed it. And so I've been thinking about her. I mean, she's just an amazing person, and I lost track of her.
I had no idea. I'm glad you shared that story, and I'm glad that she is in the second edition of Who's in Your Room.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm looking forward to reading this book.
All right, everyone, take a look at the link on here and check out the book on Amazon.
Sounds great. Okay, well, thank you, Ivan. I think that's it for this week. This podcast is sponsored by MisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material available to you at MisnerAudioprograms.com and then use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.